We've been talking about Sabbath for, let's see, this is our third week. Sabbath is one of those Hebrew words that we can't translate into English, so we just bring it right over. It's like shalom. There's no way to translate shalom. It's a feeling, a process, into English. And Sabbath is the same way. Of course, in Hebrew it's Sabbath, but Sabbath is the same way. And just like shalom is not simply the absence of conflict, Sabbath is not the absence of work. Here's what we know about Sabbath up front. It's important to God. It's important to God. Sabbath was the last act of creation. And everybody's got a top 10 list. Well, God has a top 10 list, and Sabbath's number 4. Sabbath forms the bridge from the first 3 commandments about our relationship with God to the last 6 about our relationship with each other. Sabbath is the bridge that God uses. So 2 weeks ago we talked about what is work anyway. And we talked about how Jesus redefined work. Because work had come based on the 613 rules in existence at the time in the Jewish culture. Work had become adherence to rules and to rituals. And Jesus redefined it as just that and said, here's what I want on Sabbath. I want love and mercy. That opened the door. Love and mercy is what God desires on Sabbath. And then last week we talked about the things that got Jesus into trouble, like healing on the Sabbath. We found, what, 7?
Yep.
There's about 23 or so recorded times when Jesus healed. I mean, there's more than that because there's times when he raised people from the dead. But there's about 23 where people were healed that are recorded in the Bible. 7 of those are on the Sabbath. 7 times Jesus healed on the Sabbath. It seemed like he was trying to make a point. And we explored is serving others, is that work? Or is that in fact worship? And we decided by Jesus' definition, service to others is worship. Which is interesting since for 1,000 years before Jesus, the prophets had proclaimed just that. Give the animals a break. Don't kill any more animals. Don't sacrifice any more animals. What I want is you to take care of each other. That's the sacrifice I want. Every prophet proclaimed that. Jesus lived it. So we've looked at who and why and how so far. And last week, we talked about Dr. Mueller and his reflection on Sabbath. And this is what he said. God says, let me make it easier for you. Some things at first may seem expedient or important or profitable, but in the end, they will bring you suffering. If you work all week and forget to rest, you will become brittle and hard and lose precious nourishment and joy. Forgetting the Sabbath is like forgetting to unwrap the most beautiful gift under the tree.
Forgetting
What's next?
to unwrap the most beautiful gift under the tree. So what about now? Tom Ehrlich says, we have been fixated, we have become fixated on Sunday morning. Long after Sunday changed character in American life, that is, when Sunday moved from a day when stores weren't open and it was a day for just gathering with the family and worshiping, that has changed. Culture has changed. You can do anything you want on Saturday, you can buy anything you want, you can go anywhere you want. Hardly anything is not available on the Sabbath. So long after Sunday changed character in American life, we kept expecting Sunday to do our work. We still expected Sunday worship to do our work, because it was just one of the many things on the list of things available to do on Sunday. Rather than transform lives through mission work, circles of growth, and personal spirituality, we had people sit in pews for a crammed hour of singing, praying, announcing, chatting, communing, and learning. And then we sent them out to their cars and figured we had done our work for the week. And Sunday became just another thing on the checklist. So Jesus had something to say about that. He says, you know, you work the checklist, but your heart is not transformed. John 7, verses 21 through 24. Jesus said, I did one miraculous thing a few months ago, and you're still standing around getting all upset, wondering what I've been up to. He's referring to healing the man beside the pool, the man who was crippled for 38 years and couldn't get into the pool. Jesus healed him on the Sabbath. And the rule keepers, the Pharisees, the good church people, they're still worrying about, oh my gosh, on the Sabbath. He says, Moses prescribed circumcision. Originally, it came not from Moses, but from his ancestors. Abraham. Remember? The 8th day after the birth, baby boys were circumcised. It was a law. And if that happened to be a Sunday or a Sabbath, that didn't matter. You did it that day anyway because that was the law. You could do that on the Sabbath. Okay? And so you circumcise a man dealing with one part of his body, even if it's the Sabbath. You did this in order to preserve one item in the law of Moses. So why are you upset with me? Because I made a man whole. I healed his whole body on the Sabbath. Don't be nitpickers, is what Eugene Peterson's translation says. Don't be nitpickers. Use your head and your heart to discern what is right, to test what is authentically right. The spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. Use your head, and your heart. All cultures, all ancient cultures set aside a day for what they call the quietness of the heart. They observed a day of rest, to center, to let God be in their life. Not to do anything special, but to just be. I want you to turn to the person next to you and tell each other how you turn off the phone, turn off the TV, turn off whatever you need to turn off, and observe either a part of a day, a time, when you turn off and truly Sabbath. So just take a moment to share that with each other. All right, have you all confessed that you take time or that you don't take time? The Jewish Sabbath was from sunset on Friday through sunset on Saturday. At sunset, the woman of the house usually lit the candles after she prepared a great feast. They prayed, they ate,
Drink,
drank.
a lot of wine.
Yes, they did. There were all kinds of rules. But during the day on Saturday, sometimes worship was the night before. It was a time dedicated to the Lord. And those are the roots from which we get our Sunday worship. Some suggest that it was the Apostle Paul that moved the celebration to Sunday to recognize that that is the day of the week that Jesus rose, symbolizing new light, and that was the day where we could rest and become refreshed and renewed again for the week. And that's kind of where we've been stuck. The women did not even go to the tomb on Saturday because they couldn't. You didn't do any work, and preparing the body was work. So they waited till the next day, which would be Sunday, to visit the tomb.
3 days.
3 days. Jesus said 3 days. Yeah, we've been counting that, Betty, wondering how that works. Doesn't, right? Yeah. So the bottom line is, what's so special about Sunday? Could Sunday be Wednesday? Where's the temple anyway? Could Sunday be Tuesday?
Where indeed? From the beginning, we've been trying to pin God down to a specific location, haven't we? First, God was in the garden. And then God was on a mountain. Then God moved into a tent. And then David tried to move him into a temple. God said, no, I'm happy in my tent. Solomon moved God into a temple. So God was in the temple. And then, when the temple was destroyed, God went missing. Or at least that's what the Israelites thought. Where did God go? And then God was in the new temple, Herod's temple in Jerusalem. It seemed like God was in Jerusalem. That was God's zip code, was Jerusalem. And then God became human. God became human. One of the things that got Jesus in so much trouble was he said, tear down this temple and I will rebuild it in 3 days. And of course, they took Jesus literally. So they killed Jesus. And in 3 days, Betty, God rebuilt the temple. Because the temple was Jesus. And Jesus ascended, and the Holy Spirit descended, and now the temple is in you and me. The temple is in us. In fact, very explicitly, Paul says that. In his first letter to the church in Corinth, he writes, all of you surely know that you are God's temple, and that His Spirit lives in you. And God will, together, you are God's holy temple, and God will destroy anyone who destroys His temple. And then 2 pages later he says, You surely know that your body is a temple where the Holy Spirit lives. The Spirit is in you and is a gift from God. You are no longer your own. So all the way from a garden, what's the Jewish word for the Spirit moving? We read about it this morning. Basically, God has moved
Shekinah.
in. Yeah.
The glory of God.
The glory of God has moved into us. And now we are to carry that glory into the world. Each and every one of us. We are to carry that glory into the world. So if God is in us, where do we go to connect with God? You're home already. Jesus did not die to get us into heaven. Jesus died to get heaven into us successfully. If God is in us, and Sabbath is a time to connect with God and with one another, then Sabbath is not a day. Sabbath is not a place. Sabbath is practice. Connecting with God and with one another joyfully. One of the worst things about all those rules the Pharisees had was nobody liked it. Because nobody could keep them all. And it excluded other people. It brought God to a point where God was controlled by this limited number of people. And everybody else was not. The answer is, where do you go to Sabbath? You're already there.
Alice Walker says, up here, anybody can observe the Sabbath, but making it holy surely takes the rest of the week. If you simply observe, it's just another rule. If you keep it holy, remember the Sabbath in order to keep it special. That's the commandment. And who does? We're to do that. We're to let the animals rest, the people who work for us. Remember the slaves who made bricks for Pharaoh? They never got to rest. Let my people go. Let my people go out of this system and adopt a system where there is a day that is dedicated to me. People need to rest. And if you're resting, you're resisting busyness. It is an alternative to the culture. It is an alternative lifestyle. And how do you do that? You do it by whatever feeds you. If cooking a meal with friends that is special, that you're doing together, connects you to others and to God, do that. Do it intentionally. Buy good food. Prepare it wholesomely. Do what you like to do. If you like to do that by yourself, do it by yourself. If you like to listen to music and light a candle, do that. If you like to lay in bed all day and read a book, do that. Yeah, you know what we'd do if someone did that? We'd go, man, she sat in bed all day and read a book. Huh? What's that about? Do what makes you whole. Do what makes you whole. Do what feeds your soul just one day a week. And it doesn't have to be on Sunday. It can be any day, any time, any place, and every place. That's what Sabbath is. That's how we connect.
I hope you got one of our weekly guides. You know, we don't believe it's Sunday one and done. We want you to go out from here with your weekly guide. If you didn't, there's a stack of them back there. The idea of the weekly guide is to take this experience that we've had here and live it for the rest of the week. And this week is a very special week because we're not going to be here next Sunday. We're coming here Saturday evening at 5:30, and encourage you to take next Sunday and do whatever connects you to God and others and brings you joy, to truly Sabbath next Sunday. Okay? So we want you to come back here. We're going to really celebrate Sabbath this coming Saturday at 5:30.
And then we can go out to dinner.
Then we go out to dinner. Okay.
This is at the dinner.
But here's some homework for you. As Sabbath observers, practitioners, doers, beers, you have the opportunity to offer rest, respite, and shalom, peace and wholeness, to others. Sometimes that just means being in companionship with others. It might even be just a phone call. It might be a visit. How can you spend a day just being with another this week? And who might that be? Take a minute, take the pencil, reflect on that, and write that down. And if you don't have a blue sheet, take a yellow card, I don't care, take an offering envelope, whatever you got there, write on. And write down who you can be a companion to this week to help them observe Sabbath. Take a minute.